Good morning. My name is Colleen Crouse. It's before 9 a.m. on April 17th, 2023. I'm going to share something in light of recent events that's been ongoing for over a year. As I said last year, between February 2nd and February 6th, I acquired items that were a follow-up to events that had happened in the summer 2021. By April of that year, a second set of items was made available. I understood that what it was a creation of some form of stock that was supposed to have one overwrite and then was supposed to have an underlying current with different characterizations, both of which were not only completely offensive, but also have historically been connected to formal declarations of war, including by the United States, in an effort to address the matters at hand and attended with the implications. I contend the proof has actually been meted out, that the evidence was actually what it said. But something else happened last year. Approximately 60 days after the original items were found, I encountered a series of currents that were trying to redefine the parameters, almost as if it was transitioning the theater, so to speak. In my drawer, in my desk, in my office, I had a magazine I had acquired. It was published in 1995. Produced in the United States, it had been published for a significant amount of time before 1995. It was what I understood, and as it was introduced, a American magazine about Russian culture. In that magazine was an article dated for May of 1995, that discussed a movement of mothers in Russia that were attempting to address factors connected to the disappearances of their sons who had fought in the Chechen Civil War or had fought in connection with the Chechen Civil War. At that time, it identified that up to 12,000 young men who had served in the Russian military were at that time identified as disappeared, and the mothers were attempting to communicate with the various representatives, both of Chechnya and Russia, in an effort to try to get information on their sons. Subsequent information that I've been able to find online has a slight variance of the kind of information that was available in that article at the time, May of 1995. This was concerning because last year, the theater of concern was alleged to be Chechnya. In the course of that, I took several notes over the course of an afternoon in a book concerning factors of concern in connection with the events in Chechnya. For the record, I am not personally of a mind to try to interfere in the affairs of Chechnya and understand that the Chechen Civil War was incredibly unique in a variety of ways. But there's something that's very of concern. One of the things that was listed in this book, which is called Allah's Angels, Chechen Women at War, from 2010, was this information. I'm going to read this. Kadyrovsky were also responsible for the kidnapping of 12 of Incherian President Aslan Maskhadov's relatives during the 1-3 September terror attack on secondary school number 1 in Beslan, North Ossetia. They were released after the school was stormed. 7 of Maskhadov's relatives, including his elderly sister and his niece, were seized again in December 2004. 67-year-old Buka Abdulkaradova was alone in her house when 9 vehicles filled with Kadyrovsky arrived at number 62 Turbine Street in the Staropomy-Slovsky district of Grosnetsko to take her away. Then it says, Buka's kidnapping was not without incident. A scuffle broke out with GRU military intelligence personnel of the Zapad Battalion at a checkpoint when the latter accused Kadyrovsky of stealing people from their jurisdiction. It was only after the battalion commander personally called Ramzan Kadyrov to confirm that he had ordered Buka to be picked up that the Kadyrovsky were allowed to leave with her. There were allegedly 12 that I make notes about things that were going on in the United States, including in connection with the alleged Russia spy uh, situation following the 2016 election. Now, the time frame had to do with 1 through 3 September on Beslan. Beslan, the school shooting of Beslan has been coming up very significantly since the 2020 presidential election. I have YouTube videos identifying this. It's come up recently as well, including within the last 2 weeks. My concern is that the situation in the Ukraine regarding the incident at the town of Bucha is directly connected to, in some manner, situation concerning the kidnapping of the sister and the circumstances regarding not only her kidnapping, but how it was arranged afterward and the implications it had on Maskadov, identified as the president at the time, as a president at the time in contestation with other Chechens, others in Chechnya who are identifying themselves as heads of state. This is very important. I don't take this lightly. And my concern is that somebody is at this time attempting to move forward in connection with a comparable scenario. And I'm alerting you to this fact. There was other information in here, specifically, that identifies certain actions that were taken in consideration of women who were combatants in the Chechen Civil War. My major concern is that somebody in the United States is trying to use the Chechen Civil War as leverage, and that what we're actually seeing is an effort to try to escalate. Now, I'm not going to give you details about what this particular incident is. If you know what it is, you know what I'm talking about. This is unacceptable. It's gotten nasty enough. This isn't an insinuation. This isn't a joke. This is actually a part of somebody's history. I don't think you're prepared to take responsibility for the implications that come with committing at this level. Don't try this again.